As chicken owners, we take the safety of our girls and our rooster very seriously, as anyone does. And one of the things we like to do is use hardware cloth on our coop and our run. Now, hardware cloth, obviously the holes are smaller than chicken wire. I didn't know this before we had chickens. I'm by no means a professional, but in my opinion, chicken wire is useless. We have several predators that live around us. We've seen foxes, raccoons, possums. We have a pair of hawks that nest close by. While my husband was editing this video, sitting on the back porch enjoying the beautiful weather, a hawk flew into the oak tree in our backyard and grabbed a squirrel. We heard the commotion, saw it not knowing what it was, and found out it was a hawk as we ran off the porch in a panic. About the time we got out there, it was flying toward the fence, but it dropped the squirrel in our backyard. We didn't want it thinking this was a safe place to find prey, so we made sure to send him flying away. There are some big owls we've seen, not to mention the occasional stray dog that traipses through our property on a regular basis. And even we've seen some bobcats on people's game cams that are not very far from us. So one of the things that we do that is a very simple way to keep your chickens and roosters safe is to use hardware cloth on your coop and your run. Here's a good example of the hardware cloth being pretty protective. That's a video from the outside looking in at me on the inside. And not only did we put it on our run, I was worried about critters digging under. And we have dogs, but even aside from the dogs, other predators. We made sure that we went out several feet underground. So I don't know if you can see me well, but it goes like this underneath. So nothing's going to dig under it. It can't get to it. We have hardware cloth on top, sides, of course, like I said, going out on the outside. We have it all the way around. You can see our coop is a raised coop. So underneath, we have the hardware cloth there going around as well. I am completely enclosed. When I was a kid, I tried to dig to China, but I don't think I could do it from in here. We also use an automatic door opener on our run. Now this is one that we can time, and it comes up in the mornings at sunrise, and we have it set to go down at sunset. That way, if we're not home, it's going to do its job whether we are here or not. And of course, the chickens put themselves to bed anyway, a little before sundown. We've used others before, but honestly, this is the one that we've tried that has worked the best for us. Another simple protection that honestly I had not thought about before we got chickens was a rooster. Now, I've said in other videos before, roosters scared me as a kid. I guess the only ones I'd ever seen chased people. And I never gave them a chance. My family didn't have chickens. So we made sure when we got our chickens and our rooster that our rooster was going to be friendly. If we could help it, that was the goal. So we have held him and loved on him and made him just a part of the family so that he's used to us. But his job is to protect the girls. And right now he has 11 girls he watches over. It's funny, he has different sounds. I'm sure you as chicken owners, if you are one, noticed. And one of his sounds he will make, and the girls stop. They freeze. And they wait, pretty much, for him to tell them what to do. Sometimes that's a sound saying, come look what I found. I found some good stuff to eat. Sometimes it's a sound making them think it's something good to eat, but it's him wanting to have a little personal time, I believe, instead. There are other sounds we've heard where there's a predator nearby. And they definitely listen to him and pay attention, and it makes us feel better. We let them roam out here. This is beside our house. It's not fenced in. They love it, but this is also when stray dogs or other critters are more susceptible. So he's pretty much on high alert out here and always does his job and takes it seriously. We have 2 hens lately that seem to be his favorite, if you know what I mean. And because of that, they are missing lots of feathers on their back and even getting some tender skin back there. So what we did to protect them is we purchased these little saddles from Crazy K Farms. We found them on Etsy. We can link her here if you'd like. They're just basically a little cloth that goes across their back and it has little straps like for under their wings. And what it does is Ross can't hurt their backs. This will give their feathers a chance to grow in. So that right there is a very simple protection. It was a very affordable protection, and they don't seem to mind. And we've seen their skin back there and their feathers and all that seems to be growing back in nicely. Talked about saddles. We've talked about our rooster. We've talked about hardware cloth. Another thing to think about is if you have big chickens and little chickens, baby chicks. Right now we have two separate flocks. We have these guys that are able to come and go as they please pretty much, but we also have 9 babies, if you've seen our videos or shorts with them, and they're not able to be with these big chickens yet. So one of the ways we protect them from the big chickens is a brooder box surrounded by hardware cloth. We keep it on the porch, a covered, screened-in porch area where they are not allowed. If we do let them out into the yard a little bit, we make sure these guys are not in the yard, and they won't be able to, coexist and cohabitate with each other for several more weeks. So even though that sounds simple, it is another way that we feel like it's our responsibility to protect those babies. Our 2 friends with the saddles, that's Phyllis and Penny. I mentioned before that the saddles are mainly to protect them from Ross whenever he's doing his thing, but when chickens notice something wrong with another chicken, they will often come and peck at that chicken. And these girls had a really ugly looking back right now. They were looking pretty tender, look like they need protection. So to avoid the other chickens from pecking them as well, that's another good use for those saddles. So these may sound like simple ways to protect your chickens, and they are. But like I said, I'm not a professional chicken owner. We're living and we're learning, and we will learn through mistakes, but we hope to learn from some of you guys and watching your videos, and maybe you guys can learn from us. So even though they are simple ways, they can make a big difference in the lives of your chickens and your flock.